Well, hey, North Park Community Church. It's Pastor Luke here with another episode of First Looks, and we're continuing on in our study through the Gospel of Matthew. We have just closed out chapter 13 for the most part. There's a couple verses left in chapter 13, but by and large, chapter 13 is famous for being the collection of parables, and the parables are what we have completed in Matthew 13. And now we're going to look at the rest of chapter 13, which is going to pick up in verse 53. We're going to get that last paragraph from the chapter, and then we're going to run straight into chapter 14, and we're going to go all the way through verse 21. So that's our passage there. It's the immediate response to Jesus teaching his parables and kind of what happens after the fact. And so it's moving. Now remember, Matthew, he kind of oscillates between big teaching units and then complementary narrative movements. And so we've just completed a teaching movement in chapter 13 with the parables, and now we're gonna flip back to the narrative of Matthew's gospel. And so with that, let's just go ahead and start looking at it. Here's the first paragraph. When Jesus had finished saying these parables, he went away from there, and coming to his hometown, he taught them in the synagogue, so that they were astonished. This is all over the place in Matthew, that when Jesus speaks, it's amazing. It's unlike anything they had ever heard before. And what's he teaching about? The kingdom. See the above parables. And they say, where did this man get this wisdom and these mighty works? So there we see the complementary ministry of Jesus of teaching plus miracles. And I just make note of this because miracles in and of themselves are worth spending a lot of time talking about, which I'm not going to do right now. But the miracles serve the function of miracles attest to the veracity of Jesus's claims about himself. They are evidence of God at work. Also, they are evidence of God's heart. So, power and his compassion. Okay. So with Jesus, they see his wisdom, they see his mighty works, and they find themselves a little bit baffled. They say, "Is this not the carpenter's son? Is this not his mother? Is not his mother called Mary? And are not his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Judas?" And this would be just side note here. Book of James. Book of Jude. So we've got two letters from two of Jesus's brothers, half brothers, mind you. You also kind of wonder, is there any kind of insinuation of Mary's reputation of unfaithfulness. Maybe not even unfaithfulness. I mean, I wonder if because Joseph was such an honorable man, impurity maybe would be a better word. Because Joseph was such an honorable man, I wonder if he allowed his own reputation to be kind of thrown under the bus because how he handled and responded to the situation when Mary was with child before they were wed. And so they say, where then is this man? Where did he get all these things? He's from Nazareth. He's this is backwoods. And this certainly isn't the type of upbringing, the type of family to have profound wisdom that continuously astounds people and to have the power of miraculous signs. Where's this coming from? And the interesting thing is that it says, and they took offense at him. They took offense at him. The irony, Jesus is the one who should be offended. They took offense at him because what? You think you're better than us, Jesus? You almost have to imagine that's what they're kind of thinking to themselves. You think you're better than us, Jesus? From the same town, we went to school together. You're not any better than I am. And the response is, prophet is not without honor, except in his hometown and in his own household. He did not do many mighty works there because of their unbelief. So maybe to put a little Jesus is outcast from his hometown and household. He is still, fully man. We have to imagine this comes with a level of sadness, a level of lament. People he loves, cares about, people he spent time with, shared stories with, laughed with. But to have them reject him has to be a sad thing. Nothing's quite like home, and his home has sent him away. And so at that time, Herod the Tetrarch maybe just Herod the Tetrarch. He, let me give you, is the son, of Herod the Great. So we have Herod the Great. This is who tries to kill Jesus in the beginning of the gospel. And Herod the Great has 4 sons. And so he has Herod Antipas. There is Herod Archelaus. And then there is Herod Philip. And then there is Philip the Tetrarch. So, a lot of shared names there. Okay, so who we're talking about right now is Herod Antipas. That is this is the one right here. Okay, so maybe I should get rid of this right here so you don't think I'm talking about Herod the Great. That's just a little marker taking us over to the family tree. So this Herod, he heard about the fame of Jesus, and he said to his servants, "This is John the Baptist. He has been raised from the dead. That is why these miraculous powers are in him." Okay, so that's kind of insinuating that John has died, the Baptist. And Matthew, knowing that people would be reading this gospel far after having been removed from this initial story, he gives us the backstory, what happened, how John's death came about. Herod had seized John and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because John had been saying to him, "It's not lawful for you to have her." Okay, back to the lovely family tree here. Mary's Herodias. And then Herod Antipas and Herod Philip, his brother, they were at war, a little boundary war. And Herod Antipas steals his brother's wife. And marries Herodias for himself. And her daughter comes with her. So plus daughter, go this direction. So they're now with Herod Antipas, Herod the Tetrarch here, and John the Baptist is going to have none of it. This guy is presuming to be ruler of Israel and over the people of God, and he's going to do such an atrocious thing. John cannot tolerate it, and so he speaks out about it, calls it out, and he says, "It's not lawful for you to have her. This is sin." And so because of that, Herod wanted to put him to death, but He feared the people. Think about Pilate. It was a precarious thing to be a leader of people. Did not take much to get the people upset and to have a real difficult situation on your hands. He feared the people because they held John to be a prophet. But when Herod's birthday came, the daughter of Herodias danced before the company, and it pleased Herod. Probably not shocking anybody, but suffice it to say, this is not a foxtrot. And she is, this would have been his birthday. Lots of wine. So there's lots of wine. His formerly niece, now his stepdaughter, is dancing in a way that it's pleasing to the men. All right. And Herod just is enjoying it so much that he promises her with an oath whatever she might ask. Whatever you want. And this is done in public. In front of all of his entourage. Prompted by her mother, she said, "Give me the head of John the Baptist here on a platter." And the king was sorry. Because of the oaths of his guests, he commanded it to be given. He had to save face. And so it happens. John is beheaded in the prison. The head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. It's a very sick and disturbing story. But the disciples came and took the body of John and buried it, and then they went and they go tell Jesus. Jesus, John's cousin, John being the forerunner of Jesus as Messiah, the one who declares, this is the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. They'd been together all their lives as cousins, and they'd been about the kingdom together, the ministry of the kingdom together. And John's been beheaded. Now, when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a desolate place by himself. Sad, weeping, lamenting, needing some time alone. Jesus is sorrowful. And when the crowds heard where he was, they followed him on foot to the towns. They just will not give him a break. No break for Jesus. And he went ashore and saw the great crowd. Again, the Matthew language. And then notice this. This is just so beautiful about Jesus. He saw and he had compassion on them. He healed their sick until evening. And the disciples come to him. And he said, "This is a desolate place." They say to him, "This is a desolate place," meaning there's no food. And the day is now over. Send the crowds away to go to the villages and buy food for themselves. This is good concern of disciples. Good concern of the disciples. They're caring about the people, recognizing that the people are going to be getting hungry. There's no food for them here. They need to get about their way. so they can go get themselves some food. They need not, but Jesus said, they need not go away. You give them something to eat. You give them something to eat. And we see Jesus' compassion. He calls forth from disciples. That's big. And they said to him, we only have 5 loaves. We have 2 fish. He said, bring it here to me. Bring it here to me. Take what you have. And give it to me. And then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves, the 2 fish, he looked up to the heavens, and he said a blessing. He broke loaves, gave it to them, to the disciples. He gave it to the disciples. They're doing the work. And the disciples gave it to the crowd. And they all ate and were satisfied. They took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces left over. And those who ate were about 5,000 besides the women and the children. And there's just some really incredible things that flow here. We see Jesus being booted from his hometown. Well, he's leaving he's being rejected by his hometown. He has his cousin and co-laborer for the kingdom as the forerunner of the Messiah beheaded. He just needs a minute. Jesus just needs a minute. Needs some time alone. And he doesn't get it. But Jesus cares more about other people than himself. He has compassion. He gives of himself, even when he has every right to be alone, to be sorrowful, to weep. But he won't do it because there are people around who need loved, who need cared for. And he, as he always does, teems with compassion, and ministry flows from him. And then he invites his disciples into it. He tells them, his disciples, to be the medium of God's blessing, to be participants in the work of the kingdom that overflows with compassion and generosity. And they take the little stuff they have, but they entrust it to Jesus. And when Jesus blesses it, everything that you need from him you have with overwhelming leftovers. And there's a beautiful lesson for us about ministry in this, and I'm not going to go any further because that's what the sermon will be, but I hope you just see the heart of Christ in this, the invitation of Christ in this, in a world that looked then the same as it looks now, filled with brokenness, filled with evil people doing evil things. But the kingdom of God pushes back against the evil by overflowing with goodness. That'll preach. Please be praying for me, church, as I just go through the process of taking this incredible passage and honing it into the message that the Lord would have for us. I love you, and I'll see you in a couple days.